There's a kind of poverty that teaches you to hoard what little you have, and then there's the kind that teaches you to share it. Most people never learn the difference. Marcus Chen figured it out at 8 years old, sitting in an elementary school cafeteria with a lunch his mother packed at 5 in the morning before her first shift. Half a peanut butter sandwich, an apple with a bruise on one side, a small bag of pretzels that cost 99 cents. He looked at it the way kids look at things when they're trying to do math they don't have words for yet. This food had to last him until dinner, maybe longer if his mom worked late again. The smart thing, the survival thing, would be to eat every crumb, guard it, make it stretch. But then he saw Daniel. Daniel sat 3 seats down, staring at the table. No lunch, no backpack, just his hands folded in his lap like he was trying to make himself smaller. Marcus had seen that look before. He'd worn it himself last year when his dad left and the food stamps hadn't come through yet. That hollow feeling that sits in your stomach and tells you you're not just hungry, you're forgotten. Marcus didn't think about it too long. Thinking makes you talk yourself out of things. He broke his sandwich in half, grabbed 4 pretzels, and walked over. "Hey, you want some?" Daniel looked up like someone had just called his name in a language he forgot he knew. "You sure?" "Yeah, I'm not that hungry anyway." It was a lie. Marcus was starving, but it was the kind of lie that matters more than truth. Marcus Chen was 8 years old when he learned that 2 halves of a sandwich could buy you something money never could. Connection. The feeling that you're not alone in a world that seems designed to isolate you. He didn't have the vocabulary for it then. He just knew that when Daniel smiled and said thank you, something in Marcus's chest felt fuller than his stomach ever would. That became the pattern. Every single day, Marcus would pack his lunch, always modest, always just enough, and he'd share it, not with the same person every time. He rotated. Daniel on Mondays, a girl named Sophia on Tuesdays whose parents were going through a divorce, James on Wednesdays, who lived in his car with his mom. By Friday, word got around. Kids started sitting near Marcus, not because he had a lot, because he shared what little he had. His teacher, Mrs. Patterson, noticed. She was the kind of teacher who saw things other adults missed. One day after class, she pulled him aside. "Marcus, you've got a good heart, but you need to eat too, sweetheart." "I eat enough," he said. "Do you?" He shrugged. The truth was, some days he went to bed with his stomach growling. But he'd also go to bed knowing that Sophia didn't cry during math class anymore, that Daniel stopped flinching when people talked to him, that James smiled more. Somehow that made the hunger easier. Mrs. Patterson didn't push it, but the next week she started keeping granola bars in her desk. She'd slip Marcus 2 or 3 throughout the day. Never made a big deal about it. Just, "Here, extra. Thought you might want one." He'd eat one and share the rest. She knew. That's what made her a good teacher. She didn't try to change him. She just fueled what was already there. The years moved the way they do when you're young and poor and trying to make sense of a world that doesn't make sense. Marcus's mom worked 3 jobs. He wore the same jacket for 2 winters. His shoes had holes he covered with duct tape, but he kept sharing. Lunch, pencils, erasers. Once, his only winter hat because a kid didn't have one and it was snowing. People started calling him the sharing kid. Some meant it nice, some didn't. There were kids who thought he was showing off, others who thought he was stupid. "You're never gonna get ahead giving everything away," one kid told him in 6th grade. Marcus just looked at him. Maybe getting ahead isn't the point. The breaking point came on a Tuesday in October, the kind of gray autumn day when everything feels temporary. Marcus was in 7th grade, 13 years old. Old enough to understand that being kind doesn't pay rent. His mom had been sick for a week, couldn't work, couldn't pay bills, couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. They were 2 months behind on rent. The eviction notice came on Saturday. By Tuesday, Marcus knew they had maybe 2 weeks before they'd be out. He sat in the cafeteria that day with his lunch, a sleeve of crackers, an orange. That was it. That's all they had left in the apartment. He looked at it and felt something crack inside him. For the first time in 5 years, he thought, maybe I should just keep this. Maybe everyone's right. Maybe I've been a fool this whole time, giving away what I need. Daniel sat down across from him. Daniel was bigger now, played basketball, had friends. He didn't need Marcus's charity anymore, but he still sat with him, habit maybe, loyalty. You good? Daniel asked. Marcus stared at the crackers. We're getting evicted. Daniel didn't say anything for a moment. Then, how long you got? 2 weeks, maybe. What do you need? Marcus almost laughed. What did he need? A miracle? A different life? A world where being good actually mattered? But he just said, I don't know, man. I really don't know. Daniel nodded. Then he stood up, grabbed his backpack, and walked away. Marcus figured that was that. Even loyalty has limits when poverty shows its teeth. But 5 minutes later, Daniel came back with Sophia, James, and 3 other kids Marcus had shared lunch with over the years. They sat down around him like a council. So here's what we're gonna do, Sophia said. She was the organized one, became student body treasurer later. We're gonna help. You can't. Shut up, Marcus. You've been feeding half the cafeteria for 5 years. Let us do something. What happened next was something Marcus didn't expect. The kids organized. They talked to their parents. They started a fund. Small donations, $5 here, $10 there. Some parents who remembered Marcus, who'd heard stories from their kids about the boy who always shared, gave more. Mrs. Patterson put in $50 she couldn't afford. The school counselor contributed. Even the principal, a stern man nobody thought cared about anything, handed over a $100 check with a note that said, "For the kid who taught my son that kindness isn't weakness." In 1 week, they raised $1,800. Not enough to solve everything, but enough to keep the lights on, enough to buy Marcus and his mom time, enough to prove that the seeds he'd been planting weren't invisible. They'd been growing roots he couldn't see. His mother noticed the empty lunchbox first. She'd been noticing for years, actually, but she'd never said anything because she understood what Marcus was doing, even if it scared her. The night the kids gave him the money, she sat him down at their tiny kitchen table. "Baby, you know you can't save everyone, right?" "I'm not trying to save everyone," Marcus said. "I'm just trying to, make it less hard." She touched his face. Her hands smelled like the cleaning supplies from her night job. "You know what your problem is? You think you're giving things away, but you're not. You're investing. You're building something." "What am I building?" She smiled. It was tired, but real. "A life people want to be part of." That phrase stuck with him. A life people want to be part of. He thought about it all through high school, through the hard years when his mom got sicker and money got tighter and every rational voice in his head said, "Stop giving, start taking." But he couldn't. It wasn't a choice anymore. It was who he was. He kept sharing. Differently now. He didn't have much food to give, but he shared time. Tutored kids who struggled in math, helped classmates study for SATs, walked people home who were scared to walk alone. Small things, unremarkable things, the kind of things that don't make you special or get you awards, but people remembered. What Marcus didn't know then was that he was practicing what psychologists now call radical microgenerosity, a pattern of behavior that reshapes both giver and receiver. See, most people think generosity is about big gestures, writing checks, donating to charity, volunteering at soup kitchens, and those things matter. But there's another kind of generosity that's quieter and maybe more transformative. It's the daily choice to share what you have, even when what you have is almost nothing, because you understand that scarcity is a feeling, not just a fact. Research shows that people who practice consistent small generosity experience 3 major shifts. First, they develop what's called abundance mindset, even in poverty. They stop seeing the world as zero-sum. Your gain doesn't require my loss. There's enough to go around if we're creative. Second, they build social capital. Every act of giving is a deposit in an invisible bank account of trust and goodwill. You can't predict when you'll need to make a withdrawal, but when you do, the account is full. Third, and this is the part that changes everything, they create identity beyond circumstance. You're not just a poor kid, you're the generous kid, the kind kid, the one people trust. That identity opens doors money can't. Marcus was living proof of all three principles, but he wouldn't understand that for years. He just kept doing what felt right, sharing, showing up, being the kind of person he needed when he was 8 years old and hungry. Middle school came, and Marcus kept sharing. High school arrived, and the sharing evolved. He didn't have sandwiches to split anymore, but he had other things: time, attention, belief in people when they stopped believing in themselves. He became the guy you could call at 2 a.m. if you needed to talk, the guy who showed up to your game even if you weren't close friends, the guy who remembered your birthday when everyone else forgot. Some people thought he was soft, naive, a pushover. They were wrong. Marcus wasn't weak. He was strategic in ways they couldn't comprehend. Every person he helped became part of his network. Not in a manipulative way, in a deeply human way. He was weaving a safety net out of relationships, and he didn't even realize he was doing it. College was supposed to happen. Marcus had the grades, but his mom's medical bills made that impossible. He graduated high school and went straight to work. 2 jobs, then 3. Saved every penny he could while still, always, somehow, finding ways to help people. Covered a coworker's shift when her kid was sick, lent a neighbor money for groceries, drove a stranger to a job interview when their car broke down. His mom used to worry, "You're gonna burn out, baby. You can't keep giving yourself away." But Marcus didn't see it as giving himself away. He saw it as building something. He just didn't know what yet. The years stacked up, 21, 23, 25. Marcus worked in construction, then restaurant management, then sales. Good jobs, not great ones. He was competent, reliable, well-liked, but opportunities seemed to slip past him. He watched people with half his work, ethic, and twice his selfishness climb higher. There were moments, late nights when he couldn't pay rent, when his car broke down, when he wondered if everyone had been right and he'd been a fool, when he questioned everything. Maybe generosity was for people who could afford it. Maybe the world didn't reward kindness. Maybe he should have been more selfish. But then something small would happen. A former classmate would text out of nowhere just to say thanks for something he'd done a decade ago. A stranger would buy his coffee because they remembered when he helped them. A door would open, not a big door, but a door, because someone vouched for his character. These moments didn't pay bills, but they paid something else. They paid the debt of doubt. By 28, Marcus was managing a small tech startup's operations. Nothing fancy, decent salary, enough to help his mom, who was in partial remission but couldn't work anymore, enough to save a little, enough to keep sharing, though now it looked different, mentoring younger guys at work, investing in friends' business ideas, showing up. He'd built a good life, not an extraordinary one, but good, stable, full of people who cared about him. He figured that was enough. That was the return on investment, a life people wanted to be part of. And then his daughter got sick. 20 years later, Marcus sat in a hospital waiting room at 2 a.m. holding his daughter's hand. She was 4 years old. Her name was Lily. She had neuroblastoma, a cancer most people have never heard of and every parent prays they never will. The treatment was brutal, experimental, expensive in ways that made Marcus's childhood poverty look quaint. Insurance covered some, not enough, not even close. The doctors said she had a chance, a good chance actually if they could afford the full treatment protocol, but the out-of-pocket costs were staggering. $270,000 over 18 months. Marcus had $12,000 in savings. He'd already started a GoFundMe, sold everything he could, took out loans, but the math didn't math. He was going to come up short, and coming up short meant he couldn't finish the thought. Lily squeezed his hand. She was tired, bald from chemo, wearing a hospital gown with cartoon bears on it. "Daddy, are you scared?" He was terrified, but he said, "No, baby, we're gonna figure it out." She nodded like she believed him. Kids do that. They believe you even when you're lying because they need to. Marcus kissed her forehead and told her to sleep. Then he went to the hallway and let himself fall apart where she couldn't see. That's when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Marcus Chen. "Yeah? You don't know me. My name is Dr. Richard Whitmore. I'm calling about your daughter." Marcus's heart stopped. Did something happen? No, she's fine. I'm not her doctor. This is going to sound strange. I'm calling because I want to help." "I don't understand." The man on the other end took a breath. 22 years ago, you shared your lunch with my son, every single day. His name was Daniel Y. More. He died 3 years ago, car accident. But before he died, he told me about you, about what you did for him when you were kids. He said you were the reason he survived middle school, that you taught him kindness wasn't weakness. Marcus felt dizzy. Daniel. Basketball player Daniel. The first kid he ever shared with. Dr. Whitmore continued. Daniel became a social worker because of you, spent his whole adult life helping kids in poverty. And when he died, he left instructions. He had a life insurance policy. He wanted it to go to you if you ever needed it. He made me promise. I've been trying to track you down for years, and then I saw your GoFundMe. Marcus couldn't speak. The policy was for $500,000. I'm wiring you $300,000 tomorrow. The rest is for whatever else you need, for your mom, for you. Daniel wanted you to have it, he said. The man's voice cracked. He said you gave him a life worth living. This is him giving back. Marcus slid down the hospital wall and cried. Not sad crying, the other kind. The kind that happens when you realize the universe has been keeping score all along and you didn't even know the game had rules. $300,000. From a boy he shared sandwiches with 20 years ago, from a kindness he'd forgotten about by the next week. The money saved Lily, fully funded her treatment. She went into remission 8 months later. She's 11 now, healthy, thriving, still asks her dad why he cries sometimes when he looks at her. But the money wasn't even the biggest gift. The biggest gift was understanding. Marcus finally understood what his mother meant all those years ago. He wasn't giving things away. He was investing, building, creating a life people wanted to be part of. And when his own life fell apart, those people caught him. After Lily recovered, Marcus started tracking down the others. Sophia, the girl from the divorce. She was a lawyer now. She'd been following his story. She set up a nonprofit in Daniel's name to help families facing pediatric cancer costs. James, the kid who lived in a car. He owned a small chain of restaurants. He hired Marcus to consult, paid him well, taught him the business. Within 3 years, Marcus was a partner. The network he'd built without trying became the foundation of everything. Every person he'd helped found ways to help back, not because they owed him, because that's what happens when you build a life people want to be part of. They want to keep building it with you. Here's what most people get wrong about generosity. They think it's about sacrifice, giving up what you need so someone else can have what they want. That's not generosity, that's martyrdom. And martyrdom burns out fast. Real generosity is different. It's understanding that we're all connected, that your well-being and mine aren't separate equations, that when I give to you, I'm not losing something. I'm investing in a world where giving is normal, where help flows freely, where no one has to face their worst day alone. Marcus didn't share his lunch because he was noble. He shared it because he knew what it felt like to be forgotten, and he couldn't let someone else feel that way if he could prevent it. That's not sacrifice. That's empathy. And empathy is the most selfish, generous thing you can practice because it makes the world you live in better for everyone, including you. You're watching this right now and maybe you're thinking, that's a nice story, but I'm not Marcus. I don't have anything to share. I'm barely surviving. How am I supposed to give when I have nothing? And I get it. I do. But here's the thing you're missing. Marcus didn't have anything either. He had half a sandwich, a bruised apple, 4 pretzels. He had scraps. But he understood something most people never learn. Generosity isn't about how much you have. It's about what you do with whatever you've got. You don't need money to be generous. You need attention, time, presence. You can share a skill, a connection, a listening ear. You can share belief in someone when they've stopped believing in themselves. You can share a laugh, a meal, a moment. These things cost nothing, but they compound, they grow, they come back. The science backs this up. Studies on social capital show that people with strong networks of reciprocal relationships live longer, earn more, and report higher life satisfaction than people with more money but weaker connections. Your relationships are worth more than your bank account. And the way you build relationships isn't by taking, it's by giving first, small, consistent, without keeping score. Marcus gave for 20 years before Daniel's father called. 20 years. Most people quit after 20 days. They give once, twice, 3 times, and when nothing comes back immediately, they decide generosity is a scam. But that's not how it works. Generosity is farming, not hunting. You plant seeds, you water them, you wait. Some seeds never sprout. Some grow into something you didn't expect, and some become forests that shelter you when the storms come. You don't get to choose which seeds grow, you just have to keep planting. So here's what I want you to do, starting tomorrow. I want you to practice micro-generosity, not grand gestures, not writing checks you can't afford. Micro, small, daily. Here's the framework. I call it the Marcus method, even though he never called it anything. 3 simple rules. Rule 1. Share something every single day. Doesn't matter what. A compliment, a coffee, 5 minutes of your time, your lunch, a skill, a laugh, something. Make it a non-negotiable part of your routine like brushing your teeth. You don't skip it. You don't negotiate with yourself about whether you feel like it. You just do it. Rule 2. Don't keep score. The moment you start tracking who owes you what, you've turned generosity into transaction. And transactions don't build trust. They build resentment. Give freely. Let go of outcomes. Trust that the universe has better accounting than you do. Rule 3. Give to people who can't pay you back. This is the hardest one. We like to give strategy, ikali, to people who might be useful later. That's not generosity. That's networking. Real generosity is giving to people who have nothing to offer you. The homeless guy, the struggling student, the coworker everyone ignores. These are the gifts that change you because they force you to give without hidden motive. They purify your intent. Practice these 3 rules for 90 days. Just 90 days. Track what happens, not with spreadsheets, just notice. Notice how people respond to you. Notice how you feel about yourself. Notice the opportunities that start appearing, the conversations that start happening, the world that starts opening up. I'm not promising miracles. I'm not saying you'll get a phone call from a billionaire's dad, but I am saying you'll build something real, something that lasts. A life people want to be part of, and when your hard day comes, and it will come, you won't face it alone. Marcus is 43 now. He runs a successful business. He's paid off his mom's house. Lily is thriving. He still shares. Every day. It's not a strategy anymore. It's just who he is. And when people ask him how he built such a good life from nothing, he always says the same thing. I didn't build it from nothing. I built it from half a sandwich and the understanding that we're all hungry for something. You're hungry too, maybe not for food, maybe for purpose, connection, meaning, proof that your life matters. Here's the secret. You don't find those things by taking more. You find them by giving what you have, even when what you have is almost nothing. especially then. The world is full of people who need what you've got, and you need what they've got. The question isn't whether you have enough to share. The question is whether you're brave enough to trust that sharing is how you build a life worth living. Marcus was 8 years old when he figured it out. How old will you be? Start tomorrow. Share something, anything. See what grows. 20 years from now, someone might be telling your story, and the person whose life you saved might be your own.